then I'll just want to show you where to sell, right? So wait for price, don't sell from the top here, because above this 147.935 area, I'm super bullish. I'm not a seller, right? Until price breaks below 147.585. Now, if that happens, we must have seen a change in market structure. That means we have a new lower low, right? Then I want to see a pull back into that zone, stop loss above 147.935. Then bearish target is going to be these areas of 146.113 and 145.729. All right. Welcome back, guys. You can see how price dropped below the 147.585 area and then went back for a pullback and went straight into our bearish target. Now, after price came into the bearish target, it took off again. Now, going into next week, how do you take advantage of the next move in price, right? First of all, let's go to the weekly time frame, because it's a new week, right? So on the weekly time frame, we can see that last week we closed with a doji. This is not the first time we are seeing a doji, and you remember my doji strategy. It has happened previously. Price sold off. It happened a couple of weeks ago at the area of support here, and price took off. Now it's happening at an area of resistance. Does that mean price is going to fall off? Well, we are going to break it down. Let's check out the daily time frame. On the daily time frame, it does look like we close Thursday and Friday with a bullish, solid bullish candle, right? But if you look at the zone above that daily time frame, it is a resistance zone that price had reacted to in the past, as you can see, right? And now price is back there. So is it going to fall off, or is it going to break above it? Well, let's continue analyzing. Let's go to the 4-hour time frame. So on the 4-hour time frame, we are going to wait for either of two things on USDJPY. Now, if price next week breaks above 147.435, that means we must have created a new higher high. That means this impulsive move that has been playing out is not fooling around. All right, so we must have gotten a new higher high. Then we'll wait for a pullback, our stop loss below 147.585. Then our bullish target is all the way up here, 149.614. But remember, that zone is a strong resistance zone. Now we've seen a dodgy candlestick, weekly dodgy candlestick around that zone. So there's also a probability that price may drop off. Now, how do we take advantage of this? For a conservative approach, I would advise you wait for either a change in market structure on this 4-hour time frame before you sell to the downside, a change in market structure. I have videos on how I use market structure. You can go check them out on the channel. Or I could add another zone here. The zones are becoming too much. I don't know if you guys can keep, because it confuses some people. But anyways, I know how to use these zones, and those on the mentorship know how to use these zones. So for a conservative approach, you could wait for price to break below this 147.059 area. Then you switch over to the 15 minutes time frame. All right, you switch over to the 15 minutes time frame to catch the pullback. All right, you want to catch the pullback on the 15 minutes time frame. That means price must have dropped, creating that lower low on that 4-hour time frame. Then on the 15 minutes time frame, you would look like this: a pullback into this zone, stop loss above 147.165. then TP will be all the way here, right? That will mean how many pip drop to the downside? That is like 94 pip drop to the downside. So those are my bullish and bearish scenario on USD JPY. The next on my list is gold. So if price continues higher, that means I'd like to see price break above 3,368.141, then catch it on the pullback before we continue trading to the upside. Remember, my bullish target on gold remains 3,440.689. Welcome back, guys. You can see how gold broke above the 3,368.141 area and made its way into our bullish target before selling down massively, which we took advantage of in the using the strategy I taught last week, the 15 minutes and change of structure. I also touched on it in yesterday's webinar, right? But anyways, price sold off from there. Of course, our bullish target had to play out first, and price is now below a strong level. Now let's go to the weekly time frame to see what to expect going into next week. On the weekly time frame, we can see that first of all, let's look at the overall price around here. It's quite choppy. Gold is still struggling to pick a direction. Should I go for a deeper pullback? Should I just continue trading to the upside, right? Gold is still confused at the moment on the weekly time frame, but we can take advantage of this on lower time frames. Let's see the daily time frame. But before we go to the daily time frame, let's go back to the weekly time frame. We can see that we closed with a bearish candle for last week after bouncing off this zone. If I go to the daily time frame, you will notice that that zone is not the first time price has come into that zone. This is like the fourth time, right? This is like the fourth time since April. Since April, price has struggled to break above that area, right? So that could mean the price is looking for a base to sell off. Well, we have to be careful with selling gold, right? Because gold is an uptrending asset. And a couple of days ago or weeks ago, I pointed out this daily trend line here that price has tested multiple times, as you can see, and now price is back there. Price is back there. So now, are we going to break below, or are we going to bounce off again from that zone? Only time will tell. If we go to the 4-hour time frame, on the 4-hour time frame, we also have a trend line, inner trend line. On the 4-hour time frame, you can see that looks like price has broken out of. All right, and not just that, price has traded on this 4-hour time frame. There's a change in market structure, lower high, new lower low, and that new lower low actually broke out of our support area. All right, actually broke out of our support area. Now going into next week, my first scenario will be bearish. I'd like to see price pull back into this 3,368.141 and 3,359.460 area, then want to look for a possible short position from there into 3,264.176. all right, so I'm initially bearish. That's what I would like to see. But if price is going to go back up, like gold has been choppy on the higher time frame, so it can either go up or down. So for me to buy, that means if I fail to get an entry confirmation on the sell side, then I would wait for price to create a new higher high, which means above here. Then I want to catch it on the pullback, still around the same levels. Then we'll buy back up to 3,440.689. So that's my take on gold. The next on my list is GBP JPY. GBP JPY, my analysis remains the same as from 2-3 weeks ago, right? GBP JPY has clearly been quite choppy around here. If I go to the weekly time frame, looks like we now have a doji around that resistance area. Could that mean the price is going to sell off? Only time will tell. But if price sells off, this area will be my target area. All right, the 194.840 and 193.85. all right, why is that area my target? Simple market structure. Price is bearish around here, creating lows, lower highs, lower low, equal highs, then came down here before creating a new higher high. So if price continues lower, I want to see if price come into my first buy area before we take off again. That's if price sells off. All right, but let's go continue with the analysis. If we go to the daily time frame, you can see that price is quite choppy for like since the 8th of July. Ever since price traded into this area, we've been moving sideways, no clear move up or down. Let's go to the 4-hour time frame. If you remember last week or last 2 weeks or so, I had a zone above and a zone below. So that zone is still holding. If price is committed to trading higher, then I want to see it break above 199.781. We'll catch it on the pullback. Stop loss below 199.554. Then we'll trade to the upside. Bullish target is all the way up here, about almost 700 pip move to the upside, 206.092. But if price breaks below the lower zone around here, which is 198.3134, stop loss has to be above 198.452. Then bearish target is 194.714. So that's my view on GBP JPY going into next week. The next on my list is GBP USD. If price is committed to bounce off this current support level that price has traded into, I'm just going to make it simple. I'm going to put a zone around here. Good. So I've boxed in price. So what happens if price is committed to going higher? I would advise you should be patient for price to create a new higher high above 1.34591 area. Then you want to catch it on the pullback. Your stop loss below 1.34479. Then your bullish target should be back up here, which is 1.35590 and 1.35803. Welcome back, guys. So GBP USD actually played out perfectly. You can see price broke above the 1.34591 area, came back for the pullback and traded into our exact target, and then sold off. On the mentorship, I even sent out the charts of selling around here. Actually, price didn't give us the pullback that we're looking for, and price just continued downward. It is what it is, but our bullish plan played out perfectly now before price sold off significantly to the downside. So going into next week, what do we expect? I'll be expecting two things. Remember, we have the non-farm payroll this week, because Friday this week is going to be the first Friday of the month. All right, so I'm going to delete these zones. Now, going into next week, we can expect either of two things. Let me go to the weekly time frame first of all. So why I'm looking at the bullish side of things is simply because market structure wise, price created a high, higher low, new higher high. So price is back at the first buy area, and not just back. If I move this arrow out of the way, you will notice that we have a weekly bullish doji on a support level. So that could mean that price could easily take off from here. All right, so keep an eye on that. But if price breaks below, price is going to continue trading to the downside. But let's take things one step at a time. Let's go to the daily time frame. Now on the daily time frame again, price is giving us a bearish chart pattern, which is a head and shoulders pattern. Of course, we are yet to break below the neckline, but that's what price is doing right now at the moment. So how do we trade this bullish or bearish vibe that the market is giving to us on GBP USD going into next week? Well, let's go to the 4-hour time frame. All right, so the weekly time frame is telling us we may buy. The daily time frame is telling us we may sell off. Weekly time frame is on the support level and a doji for that matter. You remember my doji strategy, price may easily just push up. But the daily time frame is showing us that, hey, I may have a strong head and shoulders pattern and price may sell off. Now, how do we take advantage if it goes either way? Now, on this 4-hour time frame, I'm still going to do what I did last week. I didn't know why I deleted that zone. I'm just going to put it back up. All right, or let me even, since price has created us with a new area, so I'm just going to use this area, right? So price may, if price gives us something like a high, a higher low, and a new higher high, a change in market structure has happened at this point, we know where to look for our first buy area. Those on the mentorship program also know this. They know the different ways to get in. So we now want to catch a buy around here, stop loss below TP, just like last week, which is around 1.35803. All right, but if price is to go bearish, you have to be patient. All right, I mean, there's a 277 potential move down, pip move down. You get the point. Well, so Just wait for price to break below 1.33843. You want to catch it on the pullback. Stop loss above 1.34148. Then you want to trade all the way to the downside. NFP can help us achieve this next week. So, but you know where to, you know about patience. We talked about patience also yesterday. So wait for price to come into these areas, give you these things before you now take action. So that way, even if your initial move was a loss, you'll be able to easily recoup your losses and even make significant profit in return. All right, so that is that on GBP USD. And the last for this week is Euro USD. I'm going to plot a zone around here. My two lines are, my zone is above 1.16577 and 1.16417. So if price breaks above 1.16577, I'm going to wait for a pullback and then you continue trading to the upside. All right, targets will be, bullish targets will be around this obvious high point here. All right, which is 1.18081. So you can see how Euro USD came super close to our target, which is 1.18081. All right, so why did price not make its way to our target? Actually, if you go to the weekly time frame, this is where my analysis for next week begins. If you go to the weekly time frame and you zoom out, you zoom to the left hand side, you realize that this is a strong area of resistance on the weekly time frame. I mean, you can see how price significantly bounced away from this zone in the past, right? Then before breaking below it, trading for, I don't know, for years since 2021, and now price is back there. So no wonder that price is reacting to that zone. All right, so now that I can see this clearly, going into next week, anything may happen. We may either continue to the 1.18989 area, or we may still sell off from here, because that is a strong resistance area and price might only be creating double tops around here. That's possible. But well, let's go to the lower time frame to see how we can take advantage of this. So if price trades lower from that zone, first of all, let's identify our target. So our target will now be 1.15233. All right, that will be our target area. But how do we take advantage of this? Let's go to the 4-hour time frame. So on the 4-hour time frame, let me delete all of these zones. They fulfill their purpose from last week. So on the 4-hour time frame, if price is to continue, let me start with the less likely thing to happen. So for you, if price is to continue buying to the upside, at least wait for price to create a new higher high above this area. I'm on the 4-hour time frame now. So if that happens, then you want to catch it on the pullback when price pulls back into that area, and that area is around 1.17755. All right, then you now want to buy into this target of 1.18989. All right, for me, I think that's the less likely thing to happen. So to sell, since that zone is a higher time frame resistance zone, I would recommend that you put a zone around here. Then I'm going to put 2 lines. So wait for price to break below the 1.17177 area, catch it on the pullback, stop loss above 1.17250. Then you want to trade into this initial target. If price continues lower, then want to see it come into the other target that I talked about earlier. All right, so those are my 2 bearish targets. So thanks for staying to the end of this video. And for those that wants to take their trading to the next level, our mentorship is coming up on the 4th of August 2025. You don't want to miss out on this. We accept full payment and we accept split payment. Whichever option you choose is fine. And once again, the recordings for yesterday's webinar is going to be available this evening or tomorrow morning. All right, and for those that missed out, our next webinar is going to be taking place next Saturday again. Until then, I wish you a successful trading week and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.